Welcome to this Summer Solstice pre-recorded yoga class. I hope you enjoy it. Let's hop right in. So today you're going to need 2 blocks for a supported fish pose. If you have alternative props, you could give them a go, but I'd encourage you to get in touch with me if it doesn't feel comfortable. And then today we're going to start sat up cross-legged. I'm on top of a little blanket, just something thin, and you may want something like that handy anyway to go under the knees if you're on a hard floor or something like that. And then rest the hands on your knees. Let the shoulders relax down away from the ears. If the knees are a bit high, you might want to even use those blocks right now under the legs, just to give the hips a bit of support, and perhaps the hands would feel more comfortable in the lap. So it's your choice. When you feel ready, if it's all right, see if you can close the eyes. If for any reason it feels uncomfortable to close the eyes, you can always leave them open, but bring the gaze down towards the floor and start to let everything go a little bit blurry. And then just have a pause here, a breath or two to come into this moment right now, here on your mat in your space. As we head out of the fresh spring, we move into big, bright, full qualities of summer. The flower arrives and matures after making its way through the dark dirt to shine brightly. It is this time of joy and openness as we display vigor in our life. This is when the element of fire burns bright, bringing the seeds of our visions and plans to fruition. It is a time when we must allow ourselves to bear fruit that will carry us through the year. When we invite the warmth of fire, we can give and receive love and joy. Start to become aware of your breathing. And notice any distractions that are trying to pull you away from this moment. It might be something practical, like noises in your environment. Accept them, acknowledge them, and see if you can let them go and not let them affect you emotionally. Start to bring your awareness into your body and how you feel today. How do you feel physically? Is there anything achy or sore you want to be gentle with? Is there anything that you could do to get moving, stretch out, or exercise? How does the mind feel? Does it feel busy? Is it racing from thought to thought? Or does it feel kind of calm and focused? And then bring your awareness to your heart center, at the center of your chest. And notice if there are any lingering emotions there. And they could be positive emotions, they don't have to be negative. So maybe something like joy or happiness or excitement. You might feel quite neutral, and that's okay too. Or there might even be something negative hanging around. That could be from something we might class as trivial, like a confrontation at a grocery store or something like that. Or it might be something a little bit bigger, a little bit more life-changing. However you feel, again, observe it, acknowledge it. We're not trying to let it go as in to pretend it doesn't exist, but to kind of pause it. Imagine that you put it down on a shelf for a bit, and we'll come back to it after our class. Take a couple deep breaths. Always being mindful of how the lungs feel. Start to breathe more deeply. If you've recently had a chest infection or your chest doesn't feel comfortable with deep breaths, you can always breathe however you like, but I'll guide you with breath if you feel comfortable joining me. So on your next inhale, see if you can inhale for a count of 8. Exhaling for 8. And then maybe increase this up to 9. Exhaling for 9. Maybe up to 10. Exhaling for 10. Allow the breath to come at a pace and a depth that feels comfortable for you, but make sure they're not shallow breaths. Whatever depth it is for you is fine, as long as you wouldn't say, oh, I'm breathing very shallow today. And then let the eyes open. Maybe let them blink. And then from here, take the hands down by the sides, start to draw the right ear towards the right shoulder, and then have a little pause there. Notice how that feels down the side of the neck. Allow the shoulders to relax and soften away from the neck, from the ears and the head. And then maybe think about lifting the chin slightly. So this takes the stretch from, say, under the ear, more towards the throat. But don't worry if you don't want to go very far. I would say this is about my max before it starts to get uncomfortable. Slowly tuck the chin and bring the head back to center. Do it on the left side. So left ear towards the left shoulder, and then have a pause. Notice if you tend to hold stress or tension in your neck, imagine that you can just let it relax away. And then maybe lift the chin. So again, you're changing the stretch slightly. So it might still be under the ear, but now it's also maybe around the throat, under the jaw a little bit. Slowly bring the head back up to center. Maybe have a little wiggle. And then we're going to come into our supported fish pose now. So we want one block to be down, and we want one block under the head. So I'm going to go for one high and one a little bit lower. So this block, we want it to kind of be in between the shoulder blades, if you think that would feel okay. Obviously, it does depend on your props. And if you're using a really hard block, like a wooden block, a bamboo block or something like that, you may need a little soft blanket over top of it, just to make sure it's not going to press too hard into the little bones and the spine and the shoulder blades there. And then we want to just kind of lie down over top of that. And again, we want it right between the shoulders. So if I was to hold this up for you to see, it would go right about there. So it's quite at the top of the shoulder. On the side, it's right there. And then in terms of the back, it goes kind of along the spine. And you can tell that we're going to need something to support the head if we do that. So we lie down on this, and then the head is just kind of hanging here. So we want to support it. It is up to you if you go for the same height that is a little bit higher, or a height that is a little bit lower, so that the head is kind of opening through the throat a little bit. Obviously, we want to move anything from behind the head so that the head can rest on top of that prop. So I wear a hair clip, and I'm just going to take that out now so that it's out of the way. So this might be way too much. In fact, this is a bit much for me. So if I go to a medium setting, this is the same height as the chest block, but I still feel that it's quite opening, and I actually still feel like my head is below my chest. So if you want that kind of opening, you can stick with that. As always, just feel what feels right for you, being mindful of the neck. And then hands go down by the side. Make sure that elbows can touch the floor. And then you can either have the legs straight or you can keep them bent. You're welcome to keep them bent if you feel unstable or if it feels like a bit much in the lower back. If it does feel like too much in the lower back, lift the hips, tuck the tailbone down slightly, and then put them back down. See if that helps. And then straighten the legs if it feels okay. Bring the feet kind of close together. And then see if you can just start to tap the toes together. It's a little bit of an odd one. Just kind of moving through the legs. And then here, allow the eyes to close again. And continue to take this movement with the legs if it feels okay. So we start a little rhythm here with the legs, a little tap with the toes. And we open through the chest, the heart center. And we start to become aware of our breathing again. Maybe you even come back to those breaths of 10 and those exhales of 10, if that feels nice. Noticing how these props might change the breath. So if they're kind of pokey or they're pressing into some tender muscles, you might really feel like that's quite tender. You might feel like almost like you can't take a deep breath. See if you can breathe through them anyway. And if it's super duper tender, change the position of the block so that it's flat rather than upright. And then resting here again, maybe with the eyes closed. Continuing this gentle movement with the legs. And breathing, if you can, breathing through the nose. Our heart center, at the center of our chest, is the wellspring of joy. Like 1,000 internal summers, it can never be extinguished. But physically, as an organ, the heart plays a significant role in regulating our blood and circulation. We know this. But what we might not realize is negative or positive thoughts or feelings can alter the beat of our heart and change the state of our nervous system from rest to action in just one heartbeat. Really, really quickly. The heart sets the steady rhythm of our life, and the flames needed to keep it beating and to keep it alive should neither be burning out of control or flickering towards embers. The spark of the heart, the spark of that life, it's the spark of the whole machinery, the whole body. It can give us the capacity to love, to act, and to come alive in the world. Acceptance, self-love, harmony, peace, and connection are all qualities of a balanced heart energy. So as you lay here with your chest open, with this gentle movement in the legs, see if you can feel that warmth, that fire, and that heat in your heart center. Never to be extinguished. Maybe have a little smile on your face. There's research that says we can remind ourselves what it's like to be happy and smiley and energetic just by pretending, in a way. How does the heart center feel now that you've been holding this pose for a little while? When you feel ready, if you haven't yet, stop moving the legs. Have a breath. And if you haven't yet, let the eyes blink open. Use the hands by bringing them behind the head, behind the neck, and lift the head up. Let the head rest in the hands and start to tuck the chin towards the chest. Just a little pause here, especially if you felt like the head was really low compared to the chest. Allow the blood to come out of the head. Maybe feel the extra tenderness in the back from that block. And then when you're ready, use the elbows and the hands to help sit yourself up. And then we're going to come onto all fours. So I'm going to pull my hair up because that would be in the way. So have a moment to adjust. I'm going to move these blocks out of the way now as well. And I'm going to use my blanket under my knees. So that's something that I pretty much always do in my classes because I'm on a bit of a hard floor. And then we're going to come onto all fours. Line up wrists under the shoulders and knees under the hips. If the wrists feel a little bit tender with this kind of 90-degree angle, you could bend the elbows a little bit. But either way, find a position that does feel a little bit maybe of a stretch in the hands. Press into the shoulders. If you can get the arms to somewhat lock straight, then you probably get this nice alignment here through the shoulder joint down to the wrist, stacking the weight in the bones. And then we'll do some cat-cows. So on the inhale, belly drops down, tailbone goes up, heart forward by pulling the shoulder blades back and together. And on the exhale, rounding through the back, opening the space between the shoulder blades. And then just start to move back and forth here. So our focus today is on the heat of summer. Maybe today for you isn't a very hot day this summer today. Or maybe it's quite warm and you're going to have to monitor yourself not to get too hot during your practice. And this heat of summer, this comes from our heart center as well, this fire of life and enthusiasm. So notice how that feels as you start to move back and forth. See if you can bring your awareness into the heart center. And this isn't just at the front of the body, we're 3D. So it goes all the way to between the shoulder blades as you move back and forth. You're always welcome to be a little bit more wild in your cat-cows. And maybe you go left and right with the hips at the same time. Never tell you off for that. Noticing how things feel. And we can notice here other things as well. Anything that's a little bit tender or sore. Maybe we climbed a mountain yesterday and our legs are a bit achy. Just noticing. Or maybe a little cut on the hand. Even if you think it might be not very important or not a very big deal, noticing how every little thing affects your practice, affects our practice. And then when you feel ready, on your next inhale, come to a flat back. And we'll take our puppy pose. So from here, we want to keep the knees under the hips. Take the hands out to the side. I take it so my middle finger lines up with the edge of my mat. And then we start to roll down towards the floor. Let the head touch the floor first. So it might be the forehead or the hairline. And then from here, see if you can extend through the spine. You may have to pick the head up a little bit at a time. And start to let the chest droop down towards the floor. Keep some engagement around the belly to start with. Feel that stretch in the chest and the shoulders, on the armpits. Maybe some feeling between the shoulder blades at the top of the back. And then if your lower back is quite happy today, then you could think about relaxing through the lower back and the belly a little bit as well, and letting the belly droop down towards the thighs. This may increase the stretch in the back, so only go as far as feels nice. And if you're quite low, you are welcome to turn the head rather than squash the nose into the floor. So you could turn the head and maybe the temple would touch the floor beside the eye. Have a breath here. And bring all your awareness to that space between the shoulder blades. Feel the sensations there. Maybe stretch, maybe compression. If you've got the head turned, turn it in the other direction as well. If the head is turned, notice if there's any differences in the neck, in the shoulders. How do the hands feel? Every time we hold a pose, it should feel more comfortable the longer we hold it. If that's not the case, then you'll probably want to come out of the pose a little bit early. When you feel ready, bring the forehead back down onto the mat. Start to engage through the belly. Pull the belly in, straighten through the spine, and then start to lift up, pressing into the hands. Walk the hands back in. Maybe take an angry cat or a little mindful wiggle, whatever feels nice. And then we'll take a twist. So take the right hand forward. Left hand's going to go up, out to the side. Big deep breath in. And then exhale, swoop it under the right arm and come down onto the shoulder. So if you can, we actually want to rest down onto the shoulder. If that doesn't feel nice, you can hover, but you'll probably, again, want to come out a little bit early because it's hard to hover. If you're all right here, then you can walk that hand forward above the head Maybe even walk it back a little bit so the bicep lines up with the ear. Ooh, super twist. Have a couple deep breaths here. Use a little bit of intuition to know how deep and how far to go into poses. Listen to the cues from your own body. Slowly bring that top hand, that right hand back down towards the face. Press into the hand, come back up onto all fours. Again, mindful little wiggle is absolutely fine. And then we'll do it on the other side. So left hand reaches forward, right hand goes out to the side and up. Big deep breath in. Exhale, swoop it under the arm, come down onto the shoulder if it feels okay to rest down. Have a pause, just checking. And then take that leg straight above the head if you can. Maybe walking it back slightly so the bicep lines up with the ear. Keep the belly engaged. Keep pressing into both knees. Find ease in the difficult poses. What's going on with the left hand? Is it really, really tense? Let it relax. One more breath. And then bring that hand back down in front of the face. Into the hand, come back up onto all fours. Maybe a little mindful movement, a little wiggle. And then we're actually going to come into our downward dog. So I'm going to take my socks off now. And I don't need my blanket for this next bit, but feel free to have it handy in case you disagree. So lining up wrists under shoulders, and then from here, take the hands one hand print forward. Keep the belly engaged, curl the toes, press strong into the hands, lift the knees off the mat, and then press the hands away, look back towards the feet, see if you can let the head relax here. To start with, keep the heels off the floor, knees bent, lengthen through the spine as much as you can. Press away with the hands into the floor. Maybe through the floor. And then when you're ready, straighten up through the legs. If that changes the position of the back, so if you straighten the legs and your back rounds, then keep a little bend in the knees. If you can straighten the legs without changing the spine, then you can go for it. And then we reach the heels down towards the floor, but it's never the goal to get the heels to touch. So don't worry about that. It might happen, it might not. Feel the stretch down the whole back of the body. If you like movement in your practice, have some movement. Bend one knee, press the opposite heel away. Maybe it would be a lot smaller than my movement. It might look like more like little wiggles. It's fine. Just noticing how things feel. If you hate downward dog, come out. Have a couple cat-cows instead. When you feel ready, start to come forward. Come into your plank pose. Line up wrists under shoulders, but a little bit wider. So they're lined up, but they're a little bit wider than the shoulders. That way there's space for the chest between them. Keep pressing into the hands. Keep the back open. Come back to that heart center. If you need to, you can drop the knees anytime. Take one more deep breath here. And then come all the way down to the floor. Knees touch first. We're going to go really slow. Pull yourself forward slightly. Bend the elbows. See if you can get the tummy and the chest to touch at the same time. And then point the toes. Inhale your low cobra. So in low cobra, there's no weight on the hands. This is a great chance then for you to wiggle the wrists if you feel like they need a little bit of a release. Just noticing how things feel. Using the back muscles to lift yourself up, but engage through the belly. Pull the belly in like you're going to lift the belly off the floor. You won't, but give it a try. Feel the energy. Feel the muscles engaged. And then bring the hands under the face. Press into the hands. Elbows come into your Sphinx pose. See if you can press into the hands and arms, and maybe you can do this motion, pressing them away as you lift up. There's two options with the head here. You can tuck the chin and look down towards the floor, or you can do the opposite. Keep the teeth together, try to reach the chin up a little bit. Never compromise the back of the neck. So you never want to go to what would be the full flexibility in the neck. You never want to drop the head back. Just lift a little bit and open until you feel a gentle stretch here in the chest and the throat. And then let's see about coming into a deeper back bend. So bring the head back in line with the spine. So probably looking towards the hands or the front of the mat. And then if you know that this is definitely high enough for your back, and maybe even you've been a little bit down because the back doesn't like it, then obviously stay here. If you're pretty happy, then we're going to straighten the arms out. And if you can, take the fingers out to the side. And to start with, take them so far forward that you don't come up any higher into a back bend. You might even go lower. Have a pause, and then one hand width at a time, see if you can walk the hands a little bit closer. And it gets high quite quickly. So just noticing, make sure the thighs stay down on the floor to protect the knees, and pull the belly muscles in. Lift the chin. This is your seal pose. Seal noise is optional. Have a couple deep breaths. Keep the shoulders down away from the ears. Keep the belly really engaged to protect the lower back. One more breath. And then slowly start to roll down. Turn the fingers forward. Bring the hands down by the ribs. Press into the hands. Come up onto all fours. Round through the back. Have a little wiggle. And then straight spine, come into your downward dog. Have a couple breaths here. Maybe movement, getting that fire energy going, that excitement. But you don't have to. And then when you feel ready, walking the hands back towards the feet. Have a moment here in your ragdoll pose. Ragdoll pose. Good bend in the knees. Maybe you grab opposite elbows, but you could also let the arms just hang loose. Try to let the head go heavy. Ask yourself, how heavy can I make the head? How heavy can the head be if I relax the shoulders and the neck? What does that feel like? Any surprises, any uncomfortable sensations? Then keep some engagement. When you feel ready, you're going to slowly start to roll all the way up to standing. Let the head come up last and go slow so that you don't feel dizzy. If you go too fast, you'll feel dizzy. This is a blood thing. Okay, have a little moment. So maybe we adjust clothes, we fix hair. And then from here, just bring the hands to the heart. Bring the feet together. Maybe let the eyes close. Tune in with how you feel. And come back to all layers. So maybe we have our physical body, our mental body in a way, our mind, how busy is it, and our emotions. And we're going to keep this heat going. So open the eyes. With the feet together, we're going to take a seat in our Utkatasana. So start with the hands on the thighs, pull the belly muscles in, and start to sit the bum back. Keep the hands pressing into the thighs a little bit. Protect the lower back. Maybe a slight tuck, but don't overdo it. We're trying to keep a neutral spine. And looking forward. If you feel like you want to give it a try to reach the hands forward. Each step is optional. Take a moment to take the hands down by the side and then reach them forward. Notice the change in the lower back. See if you can go a little bit higher. Notice when the lower back really starts to work hard. So when you start to reach the hands higher and higher towards the ceiling, the lower back wants to arch. It wants to do more. We try to counter that by keeping the belly muscles engaged. One more time if you're with me here. And then take the hands down by the sides. Check you can see your big toes. So we don't want to go so far forward with the knees that we can't see our big toes. And then we're going to do an arm stretch here. So if we're still in our chair pose, we're going to take the arms to a T, cross the right arm over the left, and then bend the left elbow. Have a breath here. If you hate it, you could always stand up. But we're trying to warm up. We're trying to make that heat in the body. One more breath. Take it to the other side. Release the left arm, arms to a T. Cross the left arm over the right. Bend the right elbow. Keep the fingers up, engage through the belly. Try not to let the toes lift up. They're not really holding any weight, but keep them down. One more deep breath. And then when you're ready, slowly start to release. Arms straighten and release and stand up. Have a little wiggle. Woo, wiggle where it burns. And then again, find a comfortable position, maybe this time with feet hip width apart. And as always, that's skeletal. So think middle of the foot, shin bone, thigh bone, up into the hip joint, not necessarily how fleshy we think our hips are. And then come into your Tadasana here. So maybe palms face forward. Let the shoulders relax, but stay a little bit engaged through the belly. And then maybe let the eyes close. So kind of moving a little bit down the body from the heart center, we get to the small intestines. And the small intestines are a semi-permeable membrane. And that barrier kind of sorts through which liquids and things into useful nutrients so that our body can absorb them. It chooses what to keep and what to get rid of. So in a sense, this organ or this area of the body kind of represents that ability to sort the pure from the impure. Maybe the idea of mental clarity and ethical decision making. You could say they're attributed to the small intestines. You could say that maybe it's the organ of discernment and decision making. Deciding what is useful and what should be eliminated. When you feel ready, let the eyes open. Take the feet a little bit wider than the hips, and we're going to do just a little bit of movement. So we're going to soften the knees. If you have any issues with your knees, instead of bending them, lock them straight. If you have no issues with your knees, get a little bend in them. And then we're going to take the arms from side to side. And this is called knocking on the door of life. And we are literally allowing the arms to flap onto the lower belly and the back and the main core area of the body. And in the meantime, we get a nice little flow, a nice little bit of energy going. And you can go really big with this. Obviously, I have a wall behind me, so let me walk forward. If that feels nice, be mindful of the knees. So perhaps if you go big, you actually pick the foot up. Do a little tap that way. You don't twist the knee. If you stay small, then it's not as big a deal. If you have the knees locked, then it's even more core focused as you focus on just moving and stretching through the hips. Maybe you get a big twist. Notice where you feel it the most. Is it the chest and shoulders? Is it around the belly? Is it around the hips? Maybe you feel it in the legs because we bent the knees. Just noticing. Again, how big or small is completely up to you. And then when you feel ready, make the circles or these little swings smaller and smaller. Smaller and more gentle and smaller and smaller and smaller. And then we're going to turn towards the front of the mat. Oh, excuse me. And then we're going to do some sun salutations. So I'm going to go through the first one kind of slowly just to make sure we're all on the same page. And there is an option to put the knee down in your sun salutation. So if you want to use that blanket for that option, you're welcome to. But if you can, I would always encourage you to leave the knee off the floor because that's going to strengthen the muscles around the knee joint and keep it a little bit more healthy if that's something you struggle with. So feet hip width apart, hands down by the sides. Make sure that the toes face forward. And if you want, you could even think about trying to lift the big toe up and bring it in line with the side of the foot. So it's not tucked in. We want the big toe to stay in line as much as we can. Especially if you would say in general, your feet are pretty healthy. You want to keep them that way. So when you're ready, big deep breath in, reach the hands up towards the ceiling, maybe a little back bend if that feels nice, and then exhale as you fold forward. Bend the knees as much as you need to bring the hands beside the feet, and step the left foot way back. Big lunge, nice deep breath in, sink the hips low. If you need to, you could drop the back knee and come up onto that front leg a little bit. That's much more comfortable for the back and the hips. You could stay low and drop the knee, or you could try just not to drop the knee, and you could even still come up. That's really hard though. Have a moment to find your lunge that feels right for you, and make sure that that front knee stays over the ankle from forward and back as well as left and right. And then when you're ready, press into the hands, step the front foot back, come into plank. Big deep breath in as you hold. Exhale as you come down. Knees, then come forward. Tummy and chest touch at the same time. Point the toes. Inhale, take a back bend. Doesn't matter how big. Start with your low cobra. Maybe you press up into a high cobra. Again, thighs still touch the floor. In high cobra, elbows stay bent, shoulders down away from the ears. If you fancy your upward dog, you could press strong into the hands and feet. We lift all the way up off the floor, and then it's just the hands and feet that hold the weight. Shoulders roll back and down, maybe lifting the chin just a smidgen. When you're ready, make your way to your downward dog. So drop the knees. Maybe we get the spine into a comfortable position first. Curl the toes, press up into your downward dog. Have a breath here. Inhale when you're ready, left foot steps forward. Exhale, right foot meets the left foot, and we fold over the legs. Soft knees, strong belly. Inhale, come all the way up to standing. Exhale, hands to the heart. What you may find when you step forward is that the foot doesn't go anywhere near the hands. That's fine, just let the feet meet. Walk the hands back towards them and come up the same way. Before you do the other side, make sure you step forward so you don't end up in the back garden. When you're ready, we'll go again. Have a breath at the front of your mat, hands down by the sides. This is your sun salutations. Perfect for summer, right? I won't make you do 108 though, just a few. Inhale, reaching up. Maybe a little back bend. Exhale, fold forward. Right foot steps back, inhaling, lengthening up through the spine, choosing your variation. What do you want today? You want more heat and fire, reach the hands forward. You want to cool down, drop a knee, sink low. What do you want? This is your practice. What does your body want? When you're ready, press the hands into the floor, step back into plank. Big deep breath in as you hold. If you have Chaturanga Dandasana in your practice, you are welcome to go for that. Coming forward, lowering down, pausing, and then pressing up to your upward dog. And in the end, we don't actually rest down on the floor. It's quite a heat-inducing kind of practice. Exhale, make your way to downward dog. And you can push straight up like I just did, or you can go over the knees like I did before. Now listen to the spine and the back muscles, not the ego. Have a little wiggle. And then inhale, right foot steps forward. Might be towards the hands, might be nowhere near the hands. Left foot meets the right foot, and we fold over the legs. Soft knees, strong belly. Inhale, come all the way up to standing. Exhale, hands to the heart. Whew. And we'll go again. So come to the front of the mat, feet hip width apart, hands down by the sides. Inhale, reach the hands up. Maybe a back bend. Exhale as you fold forward. Hands beside the feet, left foot steps back. Inhale. Exhale, right foot back, coming into plank. Inhale as you hold. Exhale as you come down. Inhale as you take a back bend. Exhale, downward dog. Have a breath here. Inhale, left foot forward. Exhale, right foot forward and fold. Inhale, come all the way up to standing. Exhale, hands to the heart. Make sure you're at the front of your mat. Inhale, reaching up. Maybe a back bend. Exhale, fold forward. Right foot steps back, inhaling. Left foot back, exhale. Inhale in plank. Exhale as you come down. Inhale, opening the chest forward. Exhale, downward dog. Inhale, right foot forward. Exhale, left foot forward and fold. Inhale, come all the way up to standing. Exhale, hands to the heart. And then take a moment here. Bring the feet together, close the eyes, feel the heartbeat in the chest. Feel that energy, maybe that heat or warmth you've created for yourself in the chest. That energy, that tapas. And then when you feel ready, let the eyes open. Take a nice wide stance on your mat, facing the long side of the mat, and then turn the heels in slightly as we're going to start to come into our goddess pose and variation of a flow with that. Just be mindful that the heels might need to turn in and out throughout this kind of little movement. So we'll go through the first round a little bit slower, and then we'll speed it up again, just like we did with the sun salutation. So we're going to start with the heels in a little bit, hands down by the sides. Take a moment here. See if you can feel any residual energy in the hands. Maybe you feel your heartbeat. Engage through the core. So we never want to let the lower back kind of droop into here. We want to stay nice and engaged and straight through the core. And then when you feel ready, big deep breath in, reach the hands up towards the ceiling, maybe bring the palms together. And then exhale, press the palms away, bend the knees. So this is a variation of your goddess pose. Inhale here. Exhale, fold forward. So this is a place where you may want to take the heels out and straighten the legs. See about letting the head hang loose a little bit. And then left hand is under the face, right hand goes out to the side and reaches up. Big deep breath in. Exhale as you bring the right hand back down. Inhale, left hand up. Exhale as you bring it back down. As you inhale, turn the heels back in, soften the knees, bring the hands up, palms facing up like you're holding a big bubble. Take it all the way up, past the head, reach it up, straighten the legs, and then exhale, maybe a little bit forceful, fold forward, take the hands back behind you and up. And then inhale, come back up, again a little bit forceful. Exhale, hands to the heart. So, what you may find is the floor feels like it's a million miles away. If when you fold to the center and you want to do the twist and there's no way you'll get to the floor, you could use a block to bring the floor up to you, but just be mindful, we're not really putting any weight into the floor. It's in the feet. So it's a little bit just kind of there for, you could potentially hold without, but a little bit of weight in a block might feel nice. And even if a block is too small, you could use a step stool or the seat of a chair. So feel free to just kind of play around with what you think would feel right for you. And no self-judgment. It's not about touching your toes. Okay, so we're going to come back to this movement again. Hands down by the sides. Have a breath. Feel that energy in the palms of the hands. maybe a tingly sensation. And then when you're ready, inhale, hands reach up. Exhale, heels turn in. Take a seat, palms face out to the side, your goddess pose. Inhale as you hold. Exhale as you fold forward. Maybe the heels go back out as you straighten the legs. Inhale, right hand up, twisting off to the side. Exhale as it comes back down. Inhale, left hand up, twisting off to the side. Exhale as it comes back down. Soften the knees, heels might turn in. Inhale as you slowly come up all the way to standing, bringing that big bubble up all the way. Press it up towards the ceiling, and then exhale, fold quickly. Inhale, come back up to the ceiling, reaching up. Exhale, hands to the heart. Let's go again. So you can see what I mean by having to move the heels in and out a little bit, because when we bend the knees, we always want the toes and the knees to point in the same direction, and we want it to feel comfortable for the hip joint itself. So allow yourself to adjust as much as you need to during the little sequence. When you're ready, hands down by the sides. Having that pause, softening. Imagine the joints are soft. That blood can just flow through the joints because they're so soft. No pinch points, no tightness. And then inhale, reach the hands up towards the ceiling. Exhale into your goddess variation, bending the knees, pressing the palms away. Inhale here. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, right hand up. Exhale, back down. Inhale, left hand up. Exhale, back down. Inhale, bring the hands up like you're holding that great big bubble there. In the hands all the way up, past the chest, past the face. Reach it up towards the ceiling. And then exhale, forceful fold. Inhale, quickly come back up. Exhale, hands to the heart. And then place the palms on the chest. Bring the feet a little bit closer together so they're a bit more comfortable. Let the eyes close. Feel your heartbeat. Feel that warmth and that energy. Imagine that energy that was in the hands, you could place it into the heart. When you're ready, let the eyes open. Take the left hand down to the side. Reach the right hand up. Big deep breath in. Exhale, see about a little lean. Try not to move the hips. That's hard. Come back to center. Release the right hand down to the thigh. Left hand reaches up. Big deep breath in. Exhale, little lean to the left. Inhale as you come back to center. Left hand down, right hand up. Big deep breath in. Exhale, now let the hips move. Maybe even force them to move a little bit. How does that feel? You hate it? You love it? Neutral, slightly different. Inhale as you come back up. Doesn't matter how far you go. Listen to your body. Left hand up, big deep breath in. Exhale, that side stretch. Move the hips. What do your knees think about that? Your ankles. Inhale, come back up. Release the hand. And we're actually going to come down to seated now. So if you struggle with squats, always skip squats in my classes because there's no need to put the knees or the hips or the toes through something that's really uncomfortable. If you struggle to get the knee to go over the toes, so if you were to just practice that, just getting the knee to go over the toes, and you think, no, my ankle doesn't bend that way, so you might also not get the heel down in your downward dog, that kind of thing, then we want to come up onto the toes in your squat. That way you can find the squat that works best for your shape and what your joints like. If the heels are easily down, then you can take the feet a bit wider than the hips or a little bit wider and come down that way, leaving the feet flat. So basically, it is your choice. Find a position that feels right for you and then slowly start to come down. Notice how it feels to come down and then allow yourself to sink as low as you can. So if the knees feel pinchy, the hips don't like it, or again, if you're up on the toes and the ankles aren't happy, take a seat Ignore this. We'll only be here for a breath. If you're here with me, lengthen up through the spine. One more breath. And then release. So we take one hand back and roll back. And the floor always feels a million miles away when we do that. Have a little wiggle. Just taking the hips from side to side, or the knees, so that we move the hips from side to side. And then we're going to have a lie down on the back. So if you have those props like that yoga block, have it quite close. We're going to use it. If you don't have a block, you could use something like a little blanket rolled up a bit thick. Maybe a heavy towel might work better if you only have fluffy blankets. Should be kind of heavy. Either of those would work, or again, a block with a blanket on top if it's a really hard block. And then we're going to lie down. So use the hands to help support you to slowly go all the way down onto the elbows, then the back. And then as always, we move stuff from the back of the head so that the head can go flat onto the floor. And we're here with our knees up towards the ceiling, feet flat, hands down by the sides. Have a breath. Maybe a little turn of the head from side to side. How does the neck feel? How does the body feel? Can you still feel that energy in the chest? And then when you're ready, we're going to come into our bridge pose. So start by engaging through the belly, tilting the hips so the back goes flat onto the floor. Engage the thighs, engage the glutes. Everything's engaged now and nothing's changed. And then when you're ready, start to lift the bum up off the mat. Keep the belly engaged. Keep pressing into the heels. Keep the knees in line with the hips. Have a breath here if it feels okay. And then if you want, take that block, bring it under the bum. Don't go for the very highest setting if you're using a block. That's going to be too high and a little bit precarious and uncomfortable. The middle setting like this is fine, or the lowest setting of a block is absolutely fine. And again, if you have a fluffy blanket, use that too. You might feel like you're really low, as in you're not in your bridge pose anymore. That's okay, because that's not the point of resting down on this. So have a breath just to make sure your prop feels like it's in the right place, supported and not pressing into any little bones. And then when you're ready, hands down by the sides. Lift up through the chin just a little bit, just to make sure we haven't over-tucked. Sometimes when we come into this, we over-tuck the chin, so just a little bit. And then see about bringing one foot up towards the ceiling. How sturdy is your prop? Is it in the right place? Can we take both feet up? How does this feel? Being upside down for just a moment. In this way, we allow the blood and the circulation to change, but notice where the pressure is in the body. You might think of blood pressure and you might think of the head, but I meant the physical pressure. Most likely it's the back, upper back, around the shoulder blades. So take a moment here if you feel okay, and you are always welcome to come out if you need to. Close the eyes and feel that pressure in the upper back, pressing down into the floor. Feel that connection with the earth there. Maybe turn the palms up and see if you can feel that energy in the hands again. Keep breathing through the nose if you can. Keep softening a little bit through the chest and the heart center, but not through the core. And don't relax the belly. We want the spine to stay neutral. Soften the jaw. We're open here to give and receive. When you feel ready, very mindfully and slowly start to bend the knees, bring the feet down, and straighten the legs. As you straighten the legs on top of your prop, that might be really deep of a stretch here for the hip flexors. Do not let it come into the lower back. Keep the belly muscles slightly engaged. Keep the stretch in the front of the hips. If it feels like it's migrating into a little back bend, bend the knees a little bit more and just walk the heels away until you feel that stretch. You don't have to get the feet flat. You don't have to look a certain way. Just pay attention to the feeling in the front of the hips. Keep the eyes closed. Don't even look at me. Have a couple deep breaths here. Again, noticing the energy in the hands if you maybe still feel it. How does the pressure in the chest and back feel now? I'm assuming it has lessened a little bit at least. Maybe this stretch at the front of the hips is getting a little bit more comfortable, less stretchy. Maybe take 1 or 2 more breaths. Obviously, any surprises, any pinchy feelings around the glutes or the sacrum, you're always welcome to come out of this or just take that supported bridge again. And then we'll bend the knees. Bring the feet flat onto the floor. Pull the belly muscles in. Start to lift the bum up off the floor, off the prop, and pull that out from under you. Move it out to the side and roll back down the spine. You have 2 options. You could hug the knees in towards the chest, have a little rock from side to side, or you might prefer to straighten out and maybe reach the hands above the head. Whatever feels nice for you, just kind of go with it. And then we're going to take a twist. So wherever you're at, bring the arms to a cactus arm shape. Bend the right knee. And then take the right knee onto the left leg. So it doesn't quite matter where. And then drop that right knee off to the side, letting the foot rest on the leg. And then the knee is going to hover there. It's not trying to touch the floor because we're keeping the emphasis of this twist in the chest here. So we want to keep the shoulders down. Let the chest stay open and soft. And again, maybe we let the eyes close. When you feel ready, slowly start to roll back onto the back. And then bring the left knee bent, left foot onto the right leg. Drop it off to the right side. Again, let that foot rest on the leg, and it does not matter how low you go because we want to keep the shoulder down. So this left knee is going to hover. But see if you can find some ease in holding it. So see if you can start to relax. If it doesn't feel nice, if muscles are tired, that's fine. But if you can, you might feel like you get a little bit of a release around the sacrum by letting the hip relax, by letting those big, big, sturdy muscles start to soften. And you might turn the head away from the knee, but we never want to force it. So allow the head to turn and then relax the neck. And if it pings back to center, then that's where you want to leave the head. 1 more breath. And then slowly start to roll back onto your back. Straighten through the legs, take them a little bit wider than the hips, shoulders down away from the ears, and palms face up on either side. Have just a breath here. This is your traditional Shavasana pose. If this feels uncomfortable for the lower back, then place something under the knees or just bend the knees completely so that the lower back feels more comfortable. If the head feels really low, as in lower than the chest, then place something under the head. We had that blanket rolling around earlier. Perhaps you want to just bring that under the head and use it as a little bit of support for the neck and head. If you feel cold, grab clothes and a blanket and get warm. Basically, make yourself comfortable as you can for your Shavasana so that you don't feel distracted by the body as we take just a couple minutes maybe to focus on the mind and how we feel and to maybe come back to the focus of our class. So I am not lucky enough today to have a really hot day, not yet anyway. So I'm going to pop a jumper on as well. Make sure you feel warm and comfortable. Take all the little steps you like to make yourself comfortable. And if I'm a bit too fast here for you, you could always pause the video and then play when you're ready. So again, relying in a comfortable position for you. Might be flat on the back, might not. Hands are down by the sides. And again, we were trying to connect with that energy, with that blood flow through the body. So see if you can let the palms relax. Let the palms face up towards the ceiling. The fingers curl in slightly. Let the eyes close, and because it is summertime, I would encourage you to actually put something over your eyes. If you have an eye mask, a clean sock even works. Just place something over the eyes so that you're not tempted to open the eyes and look around, especially if you're doing this when it's still light outside. And then this is an art. This is something we have to practice, and maybe we'll never be good at it. But this is our Shavasana. It could be really the whole reason you come to your yoga practice. It is for me. Or it might be the part you struggle with the most. But Shavasana is our time to practice the art of conscious relaxation, to consciously choose to be alert and awake, but relax the body, relaxing the muscles, relaxing through the breath. So when we start to relax the diaphragm, what does that mean for the breath? How does the breath change in our Shavasana? So let's take a moment to scan through the body, softening the toes, the feet, around the ankles, the calves and shins, around the knees and thighs up to where they connect with the hips, around the glutes, the hip flexors, the belly and the lower back, around the chest and upper back. So maybe we go down the rib cage, under the armpits to the upper back, swooping up to the back of the neck, the shoulders, around the sides of the neck and the jaw. Let the jaw relax. Maybe even take the tongue around the front of the teeth to help the jaw and tongue and face relax. Relax down the arms, elbows, wrists. Feel that energy in the hands. Relax the corners of the eyes and the forehead, and the spot at the very top of the head. Soften the breath, but if you can, still breathe in and out through the nose. And even though the breath isn't deep and forceful, still take it down towards the lower ribs. Don't let it sit up by the collarbone. And find a new sense of ease here and peace as you are alert and awake and you are consciously relaxing the body. Come back to the focus at the heart center, that wellspring of energy, knowing that we can be alert, awake, and energetic and still find peace and stillness in our Shavasana. And if you really struggle with holding still, know that you don't have to. You could take a mindful tapping here, taking the thumb to each tip of each finger on both hands and back again. A mindful movement to help us focus if we don't like to hold still. This isn't something that I personally struggle with. Maybe I'm the other way. Maybe I need to move more. But everybody's experience is different, and that is okay. So coming back to our focus today, we did our sun salutations. We're welcoming in the heat of summer, the long summer days. Maybe you have a smile on your face when you think about it. The trees with all their leaves, the smell of cut grass, all these amazing things that summer brings to our lives, and all this energy that we can put into things, that we can make into the fruit of our labor, that we can hold on to for the rest of the year, that'll see us through the winter. Making this wellspring of energy in our heart center to last 1,000 summers. When you feel ready, you can start to move through your fingers and your toes. Bring this movement into the arms and legs. And then very mindfully and gently start to roll over to one side. Have a little pause here and notice how you feel physically mentally and emotionally, without labels and without judgment. And then allowing the head to stay heavy, maybe even allowing the head to be the last thing that comes up. Start to press into the hands and sit yourself up to a comfortable position. Once you're sat up, bring the hands together to the heart center, palms touching. Rub the palms together. See if you can make a little bit of heat there. Maybe there's a lot of heat there already. Place them over the eyes and feel that little bit more still and calm and peaceful. And remember that these feelings are inside of you anytime you need them. Hands to prayer position. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me for this class. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions about what we've done today or about yoga in general, please get in touch. I'd love to hear your questions and I'd love to answer them. The theme of the class was summer solstice in a summer sequence, and a lot of what I've covered is from this book, which is called The Language of Yin by Gabrielle Harris. It's intended for yoga teachers, not students, but you're always welcome to check things out. Thank you so much. Bye.